Good morning, Internet. Yashoda here with morning class, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text number 3, which reads as follows. Nigama kalpatoror galitang palam, shuka maghad amrita dravasang yutam, pibata bhagavatang rasam alayam, Muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. Translation. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. We'll read a few words of Srila Prabhupada's purport for good measure. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and all mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Koroti Vachalam Pangun Longayati Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dina Tarinam. Srimad Bhagavatam was already fully relishable for the audience. And when you involve these participants like Vyasadeva, Narada Muni, Shukadeva Goswami, they have such a high level of realization, they have such a high standing of relationship with the Lord, their presence enhances the topic, which is difficult to imagine. Bhagavatam is already such an elevated subject, but it's becoming even more elevated because the audience and the speaker are so highly qualified. So a few words on the qualification of Shukadeva Goswami. It is explained in the Upanishads that one of Srimati Radharani's parrots flew off, and it went high into the Himalayas, and at that time the sage Vyasadeva, who he's often depicted as being a little grizzly and a little rough, but he's a householder, so he's a sage householder, lives very simply, matted locks, simple clothing. At that time, his wife's mouth was open, and the bird flew into her mouth, and by some mystic process became a child. The mother became pregnant. So Shuka means parrot. It also means reciter. So in this way, Radharani's parrot later assumed the form and identity of Shukadeva Goswami. And many sources explain it is for this reason that Shukadeva never explicitly states the name of Radharani in his scripture, because it would send him into some kind of an ecstasy. It would interrupt the normal flow of the dialogue. Shukadeva Goswami had a relationship with Lord Krishna even from the womb. When the child was meant to be born, he postponed the delivery for years at a time, and the father became concerned. Why is my child staying in the womb? So the two of them had a dialogue, and Vyasadeva instructed his son in the Bhagavatam from the womb. The child became so highly realized, he said, "Father, I will not come out unless you personally bring Lord Krishna here," and he gives the guarantee that I will never fall into illusion. Because Vyasadeva had a good relation with Lord Krishna, he was able to request the Lord to come all the way to the Himalayas. And Lord Krishna personally gave his assurance to the child, "You will not fall into illusion." So promptly the child was born as an adolescent, maybe 15 years old, 16 years old, and he immediately took sannyas. One of Shukadev's amazing features is that he didn't undergo the ordinary reformation dedicated for the Varnashram institution. There was no diksha, there was no proper ceremonies. He just walked off and began his journey, his pilgrim's journey. And Vyasadeva, this highly qualified sage, was feeling deep separation from his son. He was able to identify his son as such a stalwart personality. So he would follow his son around for an audience and for association. So that is Shukadeva Goswami. He already had a relationship with the Lord from the womb. What about King Parikshit? Parikshit also had a relationship with Lord Krishna even from the womb. We remember back in the first canto, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, there were several different forms of retaliation which took place. The 5 sons of the Pandavas were murdered as a kind of gift for Duryodhana, but he wasn't pleased by that offering of flesh. Finally, the culprit was arrested, but as a last stroke, as a last effort to remove the dynasty of Pandu, there was still one remaining male member of the dynasty left. That was Abhimanyu's son, Parikshit. Abhimanyu had impregnated his wife before he went to battle, and of course he died in the Battle of Kurukshetra. So Uttara, the wife, was pregnant, and she subsequently gave birth to Parikshit. However, there was an attempt on the child's life. A Brahmastra weapon was released, and only by the Lord's intervention, Lord Krishna personally entered Uttara's womb, and the Brahmastra weapon was not counteracted by any weapon. Lord Krishna, by his divine potency, was actually able to absorb the energy. And while the Lord was within Uttara's womb in his small form, child Parikshit, who was by that time conscious, had audience with the Lord, and he began to meditate and rejoice in this beautiful vision. Once the child was born, he was given the name Parikshit, which means examiner, because he would come to examine all people in search of that one beautiful, blue complexioned personality, the Lord himself. What amazing personalities, Shukadeva and Parikshit, the speaker and the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, are so highly qualified. So it is no wonder that their presence within this disciplic succession is enhancing the message. So this should give us great hope. We may feel at times fallen, forlorn, forsaken, but the Lord has given us this help in the form of the previous acharyas. Rupa Goswami explains that by following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, we can make immense spiritual advancement. Utsahan nischayat daryat, tat tat karma pravartanat, sangatyagat satovrate, shadbir bhaktir, prasiddhati. Yeah, tat tat karma means we perform our duties just as the previous acharyas have performed.